Hey, in today's video, I'm going to show you how to do the Tunisian knit stitch. This stitch is really easy, and as you can see, it looks a lot like knitting. Now, typically in Tunisian crochet, you need a long hook like this one, or a shorter hook with a cable attached. And the reason for that is in Tunisian crochet, you keep loops on your hook, just like you would in knitting. However, if you're just getting started and you want to learn the basics, you can absolutely use a normal crochet hook like this. Just make sure it doesn't have one of these ergonomic handles because that will get in the way of the loops on your hook. We're going to begin with a slip knot on our hook, and then we're going to chain however many stitches we want for our project. So for my sample, I'm going to chain 12. Make sure if you're using a standard crochet hook like I am that you don't do a really long chain, because during the next step, you're going to find that your loops are going to come off your hook. Once you've chained your desired number of stitches, we can get started on our foundation row. For this row, we're going to be working into the back bumps of our chain. So you need to turn your chain towards you to look at the back of it, and we're going to work into these back bumps right here. The loop that we already have on our hook counts as our first stitch. So we don't want to work into the first chain, we want to start with the second chain. So we find that, turn it over to find the back bump, and then insert our hook into there. Then we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So you now have 2 loops on your hook and they are going to stay there. We're going to find our next chain along, find the back bump and insert our hook. And again, yarn over and pull up a loop. And we're going to continue doing this all the way along the chain. Inserting our hook into the next back bump, yarning over and pulling up a loop. So keep working like that until you get to your very last chain. So here I am at the end of the row, just working into my last chain. This one is sometimes a little bit tighter, so you might just have to wiggle your hook into it. And once you've got to the end of the chain, count the loops on your hook. You should have the same number of loops on your hook as you did chains at the beginning. So it's always great to stop here and double check that you're still on track. If you're happy that you are, we can get started on our return pass. So Tunisian crochet is made up of forward passes and return passes. If you're right-handed, your forward pass will be worked from right to left and your return pass will be worked left to right. And if you're left-handed, it will be the opposite way round. And your return pass will look like this. We're going to start with a yarn over and we're going to pull through the first loop on our hook. And then for the remainder of the row, we're going to do something slightly different. We're going to yarn over and then pull through the first 2 loops on our hook, just like that. And then we're going to do it again, yarn over, pull through 2. And we'll repeat that until we have 1 loop left on our hook. So when we're working a forward pass, we're putting loops onto our hook. When we're working a return pass, we're taking them off. When you get to the end of your return pass and you just have 1 loop left on your hook, we're now ready to start our first forward pass. For our forward pass, we're going to be working into these loops here. And just like with the foundation row, this loop on our hook is counting as our first stitch. So we can skip this first loop and work straight into this second loop here. And if you need to, you can take a closer look at this loop and just open it up so you can see exactly where you want to put your hook. It's right into the center of that loop. So we're going to go in through the front and our hook is going to come out through the back of our work. Then we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So you've now got 2 loops on your hook. And then you're going to go across and find the next loop, which is right here. And again, insert your hook into the loop coming out of the back, yarn over and pull up a loop. And you're going to continue that all the way across the row. And when we get to the very last stitch, we're going to do something slightly different. So meet me back here when you're at the end of the row. Okay, I'm here at the end of the row with 2 stitches left. I've got this one, which I'll work as normal. And then this is the last stitch that we're going to do a little bit differently. So I'm just going to do this stitch as normal. And then for this one here, we want to turn it towards us so that we can see it like this. And we want to work under this bar and this one too. So we're going to insert our hook, making sure to go under both of those. And then we'll do the stitch as normal by yarning over and pulling up a loop. And that is our forward pass complete. And that forward pass is going to be exactly the same throughout, so you don't need to know anything else. So you're going to be repeating that row after every return pass. And just a reminder of how we do our return pass. We start off by yarning over and pulling through the first loop on our hook. And then for the remainder of the row, we yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on the hook. And then you repeat that process until you have 1 loop left on your hook. And at that point, you can then work your forward pass. And all you're going to do to continue working on this sample is alternate between the forward pass and the return pass. So as you can see, this stitch really is quite straightforward. But you can go ahead and work as many rows as you'd like. And when you're ready, meet me back here and I'll show you how you're going to bind off. I've worked a few more rows of my sample here and I'm ready to bind off. Don't worry if your work is curling up just like mine is. That is very normal with Tunisian crochet and it will come out with blocking. To get started with our bind off, we're going to begin in the same way as we do with our normal forward pass. We're going to insert our hook into the second loop and then we're going to yarn over. But rather than just pulling through this first loop, we're going to pull through both loops on our hook. And this is a slip stitch. So we're doing a slip stitch bind off. Now we're going to find the next loop, insert our hook again, yarn over and pull through both loops. And we're going to repeat that all the way across the row to bind off. So continue working across the row and meet me back here when you've got that very last stitch left to work into. So I'm here at this very last stitch and we're going to treat this in the same way that we have on previous rows and we're going to work under both of those loops. But we're going to do exactly the same thing, insert our hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So you're now done binding off all of your stitches and you can now cut the yarn and pull up your crochet hook to pull the yarn all the way through to properly fasten off. And that is your sample done. As I said, you might find that it curls up quite a lot, but don't worry, you can block that out nice and easily. And you'll be left with this nice, thick, squishy fabric that looks just like knitting. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you have any questions, pop them down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one.